Another opportunity for Jimmy Nielsen and Hartford Athletic to get their first ever home win here at Rentschler Field before moving on to newly renovated Dillon Stadium as they play host to a stingy and well-oiled St. Louis FC machine on a spectacular Saturday afternoon here at Hartford, Connecticut. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us wherever you may be tuning in. And Devin, it's no secret that Hartford Athletic got off to a woeful start this season. However, after those 8 games away from the state of Connecticut, they've returned home. They've had a number of games, whether it was at Al Marzouk Field for their first ever win against New York Cosmos B in the U.S. Open Cup, or their win on the road against Loudoun United. Things have been looking up.
You have to understand the strength of schedule they had to deal with in those opening 8 games. Teams that are ranked 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9 in the Eastern Conference right now. But remember, 2 of those games early on were against Louisville and Indy. They actually lost on own goals. The past 3 games, it's been different, 1-0-2. But I want to take a step back even further, go back to May 14th in that New York Cosmos game. They shot out of a rocket. They look so much better since then, 2-1-2 in all competitions. And they have to find a way, though, in the next 2 games to get some points at home, because then for the next 7 weeks, they're going to alternate home and away. Have to find a way to get it done at the Rent tonight.
And meanwhile, on the other side for St. Louis FC, they've yet to concede on the road. However, Russell Cicerone is tied with Sam Fink, their center back, for goals scored for St. Louis FC. They're looking to Cicerone tonight.
It's interesting when you look at their run of play as well. 1-1-3 in the last 5, but they haven't conceded a goal on the roll yet this year. And the defense that they played recently, top 3 out of 4 in the USL Championship. So very difficult of goals to come by. But if anybody can get it done, it's Cicerone going forward. He's created a nice relationship with Dequan Dacres, pushing those 3 up top.
St. Louis FC looking for their first win in over a month, looking for their first goal scored in league play in over a month. Meanwhile, Hartford Athletic looking for their first home win in franchise history. It's all coming your way next. Almost set for kickoff here between Hartford Athletic and St. Louis FC. Pregame presented by Barberino Nissan. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr as these 2 sides meet for the first time ever. Hartford, of course, in their inaugural season. And we'll take a look at the starting 11s for both Jimmy Nielsen and Anthony Pulis. Starting with the home side in Hartford Athletic, Mr. Devin Kerr, what on earth are we looking at?
Nice to see Paris G back in the starting lineup opposite Matt Boehner on that left-hand side. Outside backs, always very active here. They do such a good job defensively of maintaining their shape while moving fluidly forward together. Oscar Umar back. been making his way back from injury since earlier this year, and he'll get an opportunity. But when you look at what Jimmy Nielsen and they've been able to do, it's quite different on the other side. Raymond Lee, Kyle Karinga, they're pretty much the same, and no changes except for Nicky Downs in the middle of the field. And the two of them together, the way that they counteract it, the midfield for me is where the battles are. Nicky Downs, Mads Jorgensen, as well as Oscar Umar and Lewis Hilton. That is where these two guys going at it is going to be the biggest key for both of these squads going forward and who can have success.
St. Louis FC are going to go with Jake Fennelson in goal. Fanuel Kavita and Sam Vink are going to be holding it down along the back line. And then, of course, our star player for St. Louis to keep an eye on, Russell Cicerone, will be out on the left wing. This is St. Louis side, Devin, that over the past few weeks has been a bizarre schedule. You throw in, of course, their Open Cup play with regards to Des Moines Menace, Forward Madison. You throw in a postponed game as well. You have to track back all the way to their 3-1 win against Swope Park Rangers for the last win and their last goal in league play. And now they're taking on a stingy Hartford Athletic side that's starting to put some things together. While it may not look like there's problems for Anthony Pulis' side, there has to be some sort of mental game there where you haven't scored a league goal in over a month.
You got to go a step further than that as well. Yes, that'll start to play games with you, but Anthony Pulis said that they're not training bad. They're having good sessions. The postponements have actually caused some problems, and I get that. However, they're a very tactically minded squad. They know exactly what they're doing. And when you look at goals conceded on the defensive side of things, make no mistake about it, second best in the league at 6 for a reason. Tampa Bay Rowdies at 4. It's going forward. We talked about Cicerone before, but how about Albert Dikwa, Kyle Gregg, Kadeem Dakers? You're throwing in big names in the USL Championship that's shown that they can regularly find the back of the net, but when you follow it up from a statistics standpoint, only one guy on this team has been able to score in back-to-back games. That's their center back, Sam Fink.
Well, it looks like we're almost ready for kickoff. When we have a moment, we'll take a look at the Trantolo and Trantolo injury report. For St. Louis FC, they've gotten a number of players back that are in the 18, including Max Steves. And they're still going to be without the likes of Tyler David, Nikolai Lungo. But Steves available. We'll see if he's going to get any burn tonight. St. Louis FC, a clean bill of health. As we are almost set here at the Rent. One of the last few games that they'll be playing at Rensselaer before moving to their permanent home in Dillon Stadium, which is still undergoing some final renovations and preparations. As Lewis Hilton is going to get things started from midfield. John Griggs is our head referee for tonight's match. Hartford Athletic looking for their first league win at home in franchise history. They, of course, have gotten wins on the road against Loudoun United and at Al Marzouk Field on the campus of the University of Hartford in that terrific match against New York Cosmos B, as we are officially underway from Rensselaer and Hartford, Connecticut. 3 points up for grabs in the USL Championships Eastern Conference. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us for what should be a terrific 90 minutes of football. St. Louis FC in their greens, Hartford Athletic in their all whites.
Sir.
As we have started to see a bit of metamorphosis from this Hartford side, not only with just the run of form, Devin, as that's a poor giveaway at the back from Kyle Karinga. And Russell Cicerone trying to make something happen. Around on the far side, good chance here, whipped across, and it takes a deflection. And I do apologize, it's Hartford Athletic in their green and blue. Meanwhile, St. Louis FC on the other side. Two sides, same exact colors, more or less.
$2 hot dog night, got the best of you.
And $2 beer night, for that matter.
Took you down.
I don't get to partake in that. Header, handled easily by Fennelson. And a good chance in the early going for the home side.
For Jimmy Nielsen's squad, he's going to have to start taking a look at depth as well. And it's good movement initially off the ball played in. It's something from the training ground for sure. Long ball to the back post, let one of the guys run back across the 6. But when you look at the makeup of where they're at right now, Nicky Downs comes back in, Colin Martin getting recalled to Minnesota United. Nice to see him getting an opportunity with his main club. Jonathan Brown goes to OKC, and then the injuries, and all this starts to creep back in. So just when you're gaining some momentum, you've come home, you've got a pretty decent record, liked what you saw in Open Cup for the most part. The only 2 losses they've had in the past 6 games are to Memphis 901 FC. But you start to gain that momentum, And now it's another variable thrown at you, and it's a quality test of character that Jimmy Nielsen feels that his boys are up to the test.
Hartford Athletic putting some early pressure on. It'll be another corner kick. The Dane Mats Jorgensen to take it. Sebastian Dalgaard coming over, and St. Louis FC not electing to send a second defender. Jorgensen will send it in. It's not a bad ball. It skips all the way through. Semdevit scampers to keep it in play. St. Louis FC trying to break out on the other end, but good defense in transition from Jimmy Nielsen's group. Dalgaard hangs it out a little bit. Raymond Lee. Showing off Kadeem Dakers nicely. In for Angulo, trying to turn and get it on that left foot. Now it's Dalgaard again. Takes the initial cross, now we'll whip it in. Looking for Swartz. Not exactly a perpetual vertical threat, but has been a threat moving forward. And Jimmy Nielsen told us that Harry Swartz was somebody that we expect is going to have a long career at that right back position. However, with the insertion of Logan Gadula along the back line and some other things coming into play, and just Harry Swartz scoring some goals and being a threat in the attacking third, Devin, he's found himself way higher up the pitch playing a right midfielder role as opposed to that right outside back.
Kyle Karinga is healthy as well. He picked up an injury earlier this year, and that's part of that rotation that we talked about. And it's a nice relationship on this near touchline between Kyle Karinga and Harry Swartz going forward. And with Harry Swartz, he just possesses that ability, being an offensive-minded player coming out of Northeastern, a guy who was very much a distributor in that front line, where he can go both directions. And that's really nice when you get that out of an outside back, so he can get the overlapping runs from Kyle Karinga, but also hold for him as well. When you get two guys that understand both positions so very well, it allows you to explore the final third so much more. And that's just another step in this progression that they've taken over the past few weeks.
Jake Fennelton to take for St. Louis FC. We're coming off of back-to-back 0-0 draws in league play against Louisville and Charleston. Throw in a couple of Open Cup wins against the Des Moines Menace. That one was in penalties in the second round. 3-1 win against Forward Madison in the third round. And they, of course, will take on the Chicago Fire, similar to the 2017 game. Devin, you and I were actually on the call for that, and it was a spectacular back heel flick goal. That was the unraveling of St. Louis FC in what was then the 104th edition of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. And St. Louis, given their style, they're a side that could very well be a part of a cup set in the fourth round when the MLS teams are hopping in.
Definitely have an opportunity, and the offensive side is really the question mark right now, because defensively it's easy to go, okay, well, they're a good defensive squad. Yeah, but you really have to understand, to go on the road at MUSC Health Stadium for the Charleston Battery, to go to Slugger Field in Louisville City and come out of there unscathed, a very difficult thing to do. I talked to you about it, that Lou City St. Louis game was one of the best games that I've seen in the USL Championship ever. Not this year, every single game that I've seen. And you know, I've had my eyes on quite a lot of games over the past few years, and it was just so impressive to see the tactics at play for both managers. But just going down those lines, to be able to go on the road and come out without conceding, I still think that that's a moral victory. But now, what can you do when you go up against a team that, to be honest, you should be beating? Hartford. You should go on the road and beat Hartford Athletic. Regardless of what their run of play has been, St. Louis is definitely a more advanced opponent. Now, can you convert? That's the biggest question mark here. Is if you want to compete with the Rowdies, if you want to have a run at the title to the back-to-back chance for Louisville, eventually you got to step up and have a go.
Just one loss on the season so far. It was a 3-2 loss at home against the Birmingham Legion. And I remember you and I talking before that game happened, and we basically had written it off. And to think that St. Louis has only lost one game and it was at home and they gave up 3 goals to Chandler Hoffman's Birmingham, it was really an interesting one. But Anthony Pulis' side has since obviously locked things down. As Russell Cicerone barreling over a couple of different players, and it's going to be a free kick for St. Louis FC. It's the first time tonight that they've really shown teeth, as Hartford not exactly happy with the call. Nikki Downs was in the middle of it.
It's a bit of inexperience when Nikki Downs comes back around here. There's an initial push by Semdevitt. When you come back across, the referees let you play on. No reason to get stuck in. Your back line has shaped itself so that you're able to take on the attack, and instead you take them down and give them an opportunity just outside the top of your box. Now you look to do get everybody organized, put 5 men in the wall. Lewis Hilton, amazing in dead ball situations. Oscar Umar, no slouch himself. Right-footed from this angle, suits nicely though.
It's Lewis Hilton, and it was always going over and wide. But boy, what an impact he's made in the middle of the field. For Anthony Pulis, spent his rookie year with the Charlotte Independents, helping them to a 5 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs, only to fall to Bob Lilly's then Rochester Rhinos. Anthony Pulis always having his eye on Lewis Hilton, though, from the very beginning, as soon as Anthony got the opportunity. Kyle Karinga costs up possession. And Devin, this start sort of reminds me a little bit in terms of the 0-8 start for Hartford Athletic, what Steve Cook and OKC Energy FC endured in 2018. It was only 1 win through about 10 at that point. They have had to wait a little bit longer for their first win, Hartford Athletic. But given the fact that it's now 10 teams that get into the playoffs, it's not exactly like you can write Hartford Athletic off in terms of getting a postseason spot.
Just have to take a look at what you're able to do down the stretch, and it all goes back to that home field advantage type thing. And we brought that up to Jimmy Nielsen, said, is it as simple as having the opportunity to not worry about travel and play at home? Yeah, I think it is. And he was very point blank about it. Just said, you know what, it's an opportunity for us to sit in front of our fans, to continue our growth as a team. And when you're not having to worry about a travel schedule, that's what people don't take into account. It's, okay, they're playing this team on the road. Okay, they're playing that team on the road. And yes, not only was it difficult for them on the road in general, but the schedule that they had against the likes of opponents. But all the problems as well, with rains, delays, this, that, and the other, it's very difficult to do. And to your point, Steve Cook, they go 2-10-1. They finished 15-9-9 over the past 33 games. So they've turned it around there, but you don't want to have to rely on that 10th spot. And Alex Dixon said it best to me. He said a few weeks ago, mark my words, we are good enough that we will be in that playoff line. They're going to need some help, but if they continue this run of form, they can get there.
They certainly have been stringing together some solid results, not exactly earth-shattering ones. Draw against Ottawa, draw against the North Carolina team that they got absolutely drilled by in the last of what was 8 games to start away from the state of Connecticut. Then they come back and draw them 1-1 in their most recent affair. Harry Swartz got things started, 37 seconds into the game, only to see it equalize later on. But Jimmy Nielsen, of course, was a little bit upset that they weren't able to get a second or a third goal. They certainly had some opportunities. But the wheels are starting to spin. You're starting to see all of the positives that Jimmy was trying to get across to us when they were enduring that 8-game losing streak, that he knew the fans weren't able to see, and that he knows the fans don't necessarily care about, because at the end of the day, this is a results-driven business, and those results are starting to finally come as Hartford Athletic in some clear possession in the form of Semdevitt along the back line. Here's Karinga. Due will have to take the easy way out. Step forward from Fanuel Kavita. Fucci trying to bring it down. Good read from Logan Gadula. A possibility for Hartford on the other end. Played about a dozen here at the Ren. And Hartford will set up camp in St. Louis territory. Downs, who's without his usual running partner in the middle of the field, Colin Martin, who's back with his parent club in Minnesota United. Preparing for their U.S. Open Cup match against Sporting Kansas City in the 4th round. Karinga, trying to dump it into the channel. for Mads Jorgensen, and this is a very young and inexperienced middle of the field for Jimmy Nielsen tonight, Devin. I mean, it's usually that way with Colin Morgan, but Mads Jorgensen only 20 years old, and Nicky Downs is a rookie at 22 coming out of Yale. But they are going to get a little bit of help from Vucic, who's going to be sitting a little bit further above them.
Jorgensen has actually kind of solidified the shirt in the middle of the field, and previously was next to Colin Martin. He leads the team in chances created, but only 9 appearances this year, and that gives you an idea of how valuable he's been to this attack going forward. But they are going to have to battle some impressive ones in the middle for St. Louis.
Cicerone cuts it back to his left. Decent idea. It's going to fall for Hilton. And that was a whipping, curling shot that took a deflection. And it will be a corner coming up for the visitors, but first real chance of the night for St. Louis FC.
Lewis Hilton, part of the triangle in that middle of the field, next to Ben and Oscar Umar. We'll get to tactically exactly what they're doing, but Sendovit has to be more careful in situations like this. As a center back, when you step up, you clear. You cannot give up a rebound right outside the 6 as a sitter, especially when Lewis Hilton, who is such a marksman with that right foot of his, is laying and waiting.
It's another Bank of America corner kick, this time for St. Louis FC. Lewis Hilton on top of it. Outswinger, good ball in. Paris G. And it hits about the 7th or 8th row of the Ren. Coming over from the Tulsa Roughnecks, who were roughed up a bit in Friday Night Lights in the USL Championship about 24 hours ago against Phoenix Rising FC, as Dollar Beer Night lives on in the Valley of the Sun. 5-0 loss for Paris G's former club.
Dollar Beer Night in Phoenix, you got $2 beer and hot dog night here. Rumor has it that Eric Winalda is trying to push for a $5 tequila night. For the Las Vegas Lights.
$2 tequila night.
They got to bump the price.
Why?
And no one will make it out of that stadium.
That's the point.
Or back it up with some popcorn, you know?
Popcorn.
It has to be paired with a food.
Well, if you're going to go tequila, then I feel like it has to be, you've got to have a little bit tacos. $2 taco. $2 taco and tequila night. I mean, it sounds good. The alliteration is there.
The plane ticket alone is worth it. Plane ticket, fly out there, enjoy that. You told me earlier you felt that you could easily put down 10 hot dogs.
I could put down 10.
While you're consuming some of this beer as well?
Yes.
That's impressive.
Here's Paris G. It's a great touch inside. Still G. A long distance effort and a terrific save from Frederick Douay.
Some point in time, got to step here. Commit yourself, Kyle Karinga. Harry Schwartz, a little tackle on the backside. Douay, not only does he get a touch, watch the little kiss off the crossbar. Oh, the woodwork is the goalkeeper's best friend. Good movement by Paris G.
Paris G split 2 defenders with 1 touch and was able to set himself up perfectly. Could not beat Douay at the near post, though. Hilton doesn't get it past the first defender. The clearance is not a good one. And this effort is a spectacular one. St. Louis FC in the form of Matt Boehner take a 1-0 lead. You would have to imagine it's against the run of play. Moments after a Frederick Douay sprawling save. What a hit.
That's your dual threat outside back doing some work from about 25 yards out. Deflections struggling a bit here, but when this ball makes its way all the way back around, easy for the outside back to just step up and have a go. Still very difficult to put it on frame from that distance. One-timed the entire way, but Matt Boehner finds a great way to get his team out in front with his first goal of the season. see the run of play, and you see the movement from Paris G. Lewis Hilton starting to push things up. Cicerone been active, and then all of a sudden it's Matt Boehner. Definitely a player you have not accounted for.
Here's Angulo on the other end, trying to lay it off for Vucic. It'll fall for Jorgensen. Now Hartford trying to respond after that thunderbolt of a strike.
Why not? But no one steps. It's funny because it's still difficult to put that on for him. You put that in front of him 10 times in training, it's still a difficult hit, but with all the time like that,
he was comfortable.
Nobody steps out to him. There's no pressure whatsoever, and that's why it is like being on the training ground. That is after practice, just having someone feed you balls, 1, 2, 3 after another, and just put them on frame. Very well done in execution by Matt Boehner.
Boehner, 29 years of old, from Westchester, Ohio. Of course, spent some time with FC Cincinnati before they moved on to Major League Soccer. As Paris G, all sorts of space, now closed down. Sendovic got a touch to it. There's Sebastian Dalgard on the other end. 1v1 with Boehner. Dalgard, one too many touches, goes to ground. No call from John Griggs. Goal scoring, I wouldn't say issues, but lack of production for St. Louis FC. Is it their style of play, or is it are they really missing that true out-and-out number 9? Maybe somebody else around the league that would fit in perfectly with this system. Have they hit a little bit of a dry spell? Has the dry spell been the beginning of the season? Because if you're Anthony Pulis, you have to imagine it is a bit problematic if Sam Fink and Russell Cicerone are tied for your team lead with 3 goals apiece.
It's definitely frustrating. You've only scored multiple goals a game 4 times this year. That's frustrating.
One of them was a loss.
One of them was a loss to Birmingham, absolutely. And don't necessarily think, we've had this conversation off air before with some other analysts and play-by-play guys as well, that don't necessarily think you need an out-and-out goal scorer to go put 15, 20 in the back of the net. He does have guys that can push you there. I mean, Kyle Gregg comes to mind. Obviously, we've seen what he's done in the past, but you don't need him to score 20 goals. You need 6 from Kadeem Dakers. You need 8 from Albert Dikwa. You need 5, 6 from Russell Cicerone. The problem is that the chances are there. They just haven't been able to close them out. Now, you could flip it on the other side of things and say we possess enough talent on our team that when one area isn't picking up, the other side steps up. Sam Fink has been able to get involved in the run of play. Matt Boehner gets his first. So, yes, they're not necessarily getting the output from their front 3, from the front 4. But it's not like they're not scoring. I mean, they've struggled in the last 2 games, but still, they're still able to find a bit of closure in the final third. And I'm not worried about it overall, because in the grand scheme of things, they're so good on the defensive side of the ball. It is so difficult to break them down that they can get 1 goal here or there and go win a game.
Long ball ahead for Kadeem Dakers, jockeying with Raymond Lee. And Hartford will be able to see it out of play. Well, that's what I was going to say to you, is that, listen, you're not going to be able to rely on Matt Boehner to pick one out in the top corner and kiss it off the post most games. Like,
sure.
That's pretty darn. Not a bad idea forward for Harry Swartz.
You and I would probably sit back and both agree that defensively, though different styles, St. Louis and Tampa Bay are neck and neck. Right? You get a flat back 4 Tampa Bay seems to sit in a 3 where they drop into a 5. The block can easily become 7 or 8, and so can it for St. Louis as well. Difference is Guanzati is scoring, Juan Tejada is scoring, Leo Fernandez is scoring. But again, the production is still there for St. Louis. They're just not necessarily finding closure. So again, if the opportunities weren't coming, you'd be worried. If the manager wasn't telling you that in training it wasn't good, you'd be worried, but that's not the case.
St. Louis FC with multiple games in hand. This is just their 11th game played. Tampa Bay and New York Red Bulls 2, and even Louisville for that matter, just to give you an idea, are playing their 13th. Louisville playing their 14th. So with those games that have been postponed for St. Louis FC, they're certainly going to come into play in the coming weeks. Dalgard stands one up at the back post. It's over the head of Harry Swartz. Sebastian Dalgard starting to find a little bit of space to maneuver and operate.
It's a bit of inexperience from Harry Swartz, so that run needs to be crashing the back post, not standing there waiting for it. He doesn't carry the height to go win a challenge just standing like that. So he needs to be breaking in on this right at the end when he's got Paris G that's already tucked himself inside, because there's a load of space back there to be occupied. He just arrives a bit too early.
Karinga. Back for Semdovic. Center back whips one in. Nicky Downs. Jorgensen. Dalgard brings it down beautifully. 1v1 with Matt Boehner, who's the goal scorer on the night. Brendan Lee's cross is denied. Dalgard. Easy enough for Fennelson.
Quality here for Hartford Athletic. Just yet to find it in the opening minutes of this game so far, as it's very lucky to make its way through both Boehner and Sam Fink. To watch it go through his legs as Fennelson able to pick it up. And it's difficult to break this squat down in general, yet alone how they're lining up right now. They're basically going flat 3 across the middle, and that movement changes a bit, but Lewis, then Oscar Umar, then Gaia Ben, and if you watch the way that they're sitting, they'll go 3, it'll drop into a 5, but then 1 will chase as well. So what Nicky Downs and Jorgensen have to understand is one of you can drop deep and one of you can step up, but you also have to come outside. Come a bit out of that comfort zone, because there's too many bodies from St. Louis FC sitting in that line. You have to find a different dimension in order to push forward.
It did look a bit reckless from Matt Boehner. Sebastian Dalgard remains down.
School 50-50 on that backside. The Dane took a bit of an elbow to that side. His shoulder looked like, and just kind of the full body effect, to be honest, from Matt Boehner. Much better has Boehner gotten over the course of the season. You and I saw him first week, struggled. He got put out to pasture multiple times in that game versus Indy 11, though. He switched up and he earned his shirt back.
Looking for Swartz. Finds the back of the net. Flag stays down. Harry Swartz again for Hartford Athletic. And it's the first goal conceded on the road this year for St. Louis FC. 1-1 at the Ren. A bit different than the play we saw moments ago, as that with stagnant bodies in the box, but this is still against the run of play. Very well done on the backside. Notice Paris G allows the runner to get in behind him. Cannot do that. Have to stay goal side.
position your body within the ball and the runner itself. Harry Swartz recognizes that, uses his speed, tucks himself inside, and the tiniest bit of touches to get out in front of Jake Fenlison and even things up.
Harry Swartz in back-to-back games. This one a bit later than the one he scored against Dave Sarakin's North Carolina FC last week, as he was able to get the opening goal in the first minute of play. And that mighty impressive streak for St. Louis FC finally comes to an end. I think the goals on the aesthetically pleasing scale are on opposite sides between Matt Boehner and Harry Swartz, but they all count the same.
How about the ball? Vucci cannot put this anywhere else. I mean, he hits this with the perfect amount of pace, and it's bending the entire time. If it's too high or too low, it's collected by either the goalkeeper or the outside back. So great delivery on that left-hand side.
Well, they are going to credit it to Harry Swartz because it looked like Paris G might have gotten a foot to it, but I believe the last deflection came off Swartz, who now able to find Jose Angulo. Angulo from distance, he can't hit it from there, but he hits it about 3 bleachers too far.
A better look at everything going on. Quick little turn in between, finds him on the back post. That's what you have to do. Got to go quickly in transition against this squad. They have so much talent defensively. And we made the reference to the Rowdies earlier. That's what they do. The two squads, Tampa Bay Rowdies and St. Louis FC, close space down and sit as one cohesive unit so quickly. So if you are going to break them down, it has to be tight-knit passes that can dissect a back line just like you just saw.
Harry Swartz, who Jimmy Nielsen says just has an incredible footballing heart. He'll lose the ball to look like he's going to cough up possession and win the ball back. He's not always the most orthodox of players, but just constantly finds a way to get it done. And Devin, as you mentioned, when he was at Northeastern in the Boston area during his collegiate days, he was an all-and-out striker. He wasn't one that was putting 10, 15 goals in the back of the net. He only, what, about 6, 7 goals in his collegiate career? 5 goals.
Yep. And as we say that, including Open Cup play, he's got 3 and 7. I mean, that gives you an idea of the talent he's capable of. And credit to Nielsen, who scouted him and understood it. I mean, this is a guy coming out of the CAA, was the only player out of the CAA invited to the MLS Combine. Now, that didn't work out for him. But however, one door closes, another one opens. Great opportunity by Harry Swartz and an even better finish.
Half an hour played here at Rentschler Field, 1-1 between Hartford Athletic and St. Louis FC. Tyler Terrence along with the ex-German pro Devin Kerr. Glad to have you with us. Matt Boehner got things started for St. Louis. And it was a terrific strike that just smooched the inside of the left post, able to beat Frederick Douay, and then Swartz equalized a few moments ago. Dalgard towards the byline. Good ball across, asking all sorts of questions of the St. Louis back line. Sam Fink clears it away. Taken down, but the initial foul is going to be called, I believe, against Jose Angulo. And Swartz is grabbing onto that right wrist, as it looked like he came down a bit awkward.
Harry Swartz gets whacked on the tail end of this, and there's the initial foul here. Angulo holding up Manuel Cavita. And when he steps back in, see just on the tail end of it, arm gets caught up underneath him. Harry Swartz immediately going for that right hand of his, just asking for a little help from the trainer. They'll get a look at him, and it's a good look at the midfield from just before. Keep an eye on that. We talked about Jorgensen and Downs, how they could stagger themselves. They're starting to do that, and that enabled Swartz on that challenge to get stuck in. With Downs coming over, you now have a 2v1 battle where you're bringing the center back off the back line against an outside mid and an attacking mid, because they've basically gone to a diamond shape in the midfield. And that's where they have to win their individual battles, and it goes, oh yeah, you win one individual battle. No, that's not how this works against St. Louis FC. One slides over, the next one slides over. They're too good at covering each other's backs. So when you get in a 2v1, you go win that, and then you bring a third in. That's exactly what happened on the goal. You had Dalgard over there, Nicky Downs, and Vucic, and the three of them, the ball comes through, quick turn, Swartz on the back post.
So we were mentioning earlier that Paris G's former side of the Tulsa Roughnecks had a rough go of it in the Valley of the Sun on Dollar Beer Night as Phoenix now moved to 11-0-0. Their goal differential, plus 25 when Bud Lights are flying for a buck a pop. They get 5 goals past Tulsa. Andrew Wheeler-Amino had the 5th. It was his first ever goal for Phoenix. And the Tulsa Roughnecks, who were off to a great start in 2019, it has been a rough go of it since about the 6 or 7 week mark.
That was the perfect storm for Phoenix, because when you looked at the Roughnecks' performance, they were abysmal. They were absolutely terrible. Michael Insian, you felt for him, didn't you? You saw him on the sideline just head down. His guys didn't do him any favors. And then you had Phoenix Rising, who was just firing on every single cylinder possible in that engine. And it was just wave after wave of attack. And we kind of joked about it coming on air. They had most of theirs coming from 25, 30 yards out where the ball was just turned over. And it's like, all right, guys, grab a friend. Let's go have some fun.
Here's Harris Swartz back out onto the field, finding Angulo. Trying to switch the point of attack. Dalgard brings it down. Still Dalgard. Lines play back for Karinga. It's the 20-year-old Jorgensen. Logan Gadula finding Raymond Lee, who's pushed extremely far up the field at that outside back position. 19th Regiment providing some awesome acoustics, trying to spur their side on to a go-ahead goal. Vucic on the turn. Swartz, decent ball in. Angulo, the snap header. It's good football from Hartford Athletic.
So the wheels starting to turn, quick ball movement, recycle from the left all the way over to the right. Swartz just looking for that run to the back post, and Angulo does a good job here because he recognizes he's a bit out of position, just drops off a little bit, drifts to the backside of that top of the 6, and then tries to pick out the far post. Emerson would have been beaten, but much better from Hartford Athletic. You can really see them starting to find some space to play with.
Heavy touch from Nicky Downs, able to get it back for Semdovic. Cooley plays it along for Karinga. Vucic lets it run through. Cicerone finding Hilton, trying to keep the train moving for Kadeem Dakers, but it was a bit rushed. Raymond Lee with a nice little shimmy and a shake that gets the attention of the Hartford Athletic faithful. Send it away. Swartz elevating. Kavita wins the header. Vucic in between Sebastian Dalgard and Jose Angulo. And speaking with Jimmy Nielsen, it was interesting what he had to say about Vucic. Vucic, who experienced a bit of injuries at the beginning of the season, of course, was so integral in that magical run to the Western Conference Finals for Jimmy Nielsen with OKC Energy FC in 2017. And in the eyes of Jimmy Nielsen, Vucic was almost doing himself a disservice by the amount of work that he was putting in. And Jimmy basically saying that he was doing too much. He was moving around too much in the offensive third, and he was just killing himself from a fitness standpoint and putting in work that he didn't necessarily need to put in. And it's that buzz phrase that Vucic has started to learn how to work smarter, not necessarily harder.
You have a guy who learned from the best. He and Aiden Quinn spent their first year in college together at Bradley, and the crazy assists that were being pumped out of that program. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to occupy space and help these guys going forward while also supplementing with some goals here and there. But to your point, it can't just be one player. And that's what you're starting to see here in the latter portion of this first half, where Harry Swartz getting involved. Nicky Downs, New Yorkers have adjusted very well to the midfield of St. Louis, and that it can't be one guy. And to be honest, it kind of reminds me of the situation in the Western Conference with Josh Suggs going from Colorado Springs to New Mexico, where Josh Suggs was the guy for Steve Tritchuk. He did everything
at the outside back position.
And Troy Lesesne told us that it was a bit odd for him because he came into the New Mexico United crew, didn't really know what his place was, and he was doing too much. Then he wasn't doing enough, so it was almost counterbalancing itself, and that's what Waj has been doing here. He started too much, and he's starting to find a comfort zone to where now he's allowing everybody else to play off of him, but he's also having some fun in the final third as well.
It's a nice little comparison you just made. I like that.
They don't come often, so
I know. I'm relishing it.
Appreciate it.
Angulo taken down, and a set piece coming up for Hartford, albeit about 45 yards out. And if they can start to get Jose Angulo going from a goal-scoring standpoint, I mean, this is a side that's going to really start to find themselves rattling off 3 points, 6 points, 9 points. But Jose Angulo is no spring chicken at this point in his career. He's not going to be putting in all the legwork that he did earlier in his footballing career, but if he's given time and space, he can punish you. Ferguson will go all the way back for Douay.
That's interesting when you look at his career and what it's been. And it starts off with the Revolution, time with Harrisburg City, New York Red Bull. I mean, the list goes on and on. He's still scoring in right around 40% of his games. And for you and I, we've talked about his recent time where there was the Preki experiment in 2017 that didn't necessarily go his way, which ended up being the trade to Jimmy Nielsen in that Christian Valesky movement. And then you get OKC in 18, and then he comes over to follow Jimmy now, and you can see him where early on this year, that goal against Pittsburgh was beyond amazing. Just quick turn, unleashed, and that's the glimpses that he's capable of. But what is his striking partner going to be? For me, that's what always been the biggest issue for him is we know he can be the lone soldier, but can he play nicely and can someone else be his friend up top as well? And Watch probably fits that role the best, where you can't have enough roosters in that house. You can have too many. You know what I mean? You need guys that can be a guy, but not necessarily the guy.
Dalgard, the guy right now, putting on all sorts of moves, gets it across, and Swartz got a touch to it. The entire far side of the goal was gaping, and Swartz almost had a second.
Quality footwork by Dalgard on the back post, just going one-on-one with Boehner, cuts in, then right back outside. Very well done by the outside midfielder. Harry Swartz has come all the way in. The back line just not communicating appropriately for St. Louis FC. A lot of guys unmarked in the box, very uncharacteristic from what we've seen out of Anthony Pulis' squad in the past.
Angulo, great skill. Taken away right at the last moment, though. About 5 minutes until halftime. Goals from Matt Boehner and Harry Swartz. First time that St. Louis FC has conceded on the road this season. First goal that they've given up in league play in their last 2.5 matches, we can call it now. Their last win came on April 27th against the Swope Park Rangers, which was a 3-1 result. But as we talked about, they've had a couple of games that have been postponed, and they have a number of games in hand right now in the rest of the league. Douay really hasn't seen much action since the Boehner goal, if any.
How about the strike just before from Lewis Hilton as well? Kissed the top of the post, and that was the opening 20 minutes for this team. We haven't seen them since. St. Louis FC has been on their heels. They are sitting back and trying to figure out how to counterpunch right now. Credit to Jimmy Nielsen, is we said the biggest key for these two teams would be what went on in the midfield, and they controlled everything for the first part of this game. But Jorgensen, Nicky Downs, they're starting to find a way to get in between the three in the middle. Oscar Umar, Naya Ben, and Lewis Hilton are really struggling with the depth now. The dimensions that have been provided there have allowed them to go side to side and allow the runs from Harry Schwartz, Dalgard on the outside to open up a bit more. We didn't see that at the beginning of the game.
Good play from Sem DeWitt to cut it out. Jorgensen finding the former Yale Bulldog in Nicky Downs. Downs turning upfield. Good layout from Vucic. Dalgard bends it in. Raymond Lee now. Vucic back for Dalgard once more. Schwartz trying to turn it back in, and Gulo, and it's straight at Fennelson. It's the second snap header that Angulo has had from inside at 12 yards.
Hardest ball to track is the second and third ball coming back across. It's so difficult because you don't know what decision Harry Schwartz is going to make. Is he going to try and bring this down? Is he going to flick it on himself? And you have to account for the trailing run as well. Angulo, that's the third time we've seen him with a heading opportunity on a back post, which has come off of either a deflection or a second ball put back into the mixer.
Two Danes, and both Jorgensen and Dalgard are having a field day right now. Throwing Vucic as well.
It's quite interesting. If I walked up to you right now and showed you the top 8, and I said, Hartford Athletic has gotten results against A, B, and C, and then I showed you Hartford's record, you wouldn't believe it. The way that they're playing right now against St. Louis, to be fair, St. Louis is playing down a bit right now. Hartford is playing up in what we've seen. But if I showed you that, you would not believe me that this team is sitting at the bottom of the Eastern Conference.
No. If you told me that they played their first 8 games on the road against the best teams in the Eastern Conference, then I would.
But it does go back to the talking point that you brought up earlier, and what Jimmy Nielsen has been preaching to the media as well, is give us a little time here. Like, we've had a rough go of it. I'm seeing things that you're not seeing. And we've heard that from multiple coaches, both in the East and West. What we see in training every single day, you only get to see, maybe not necessarily at the higher level, for 90 minutes on the weekend. And he's right, it's all about results. But those results are starting to come around here. On the flip side of things, imagine the verbal lashing going on at halftime for Anthony Pujols and his squad. He is not going to be happy with the performance of his team.
Outside of the Birmingham game, this is probably the most dysfunctional you've seen St. Louis this year on the defensive side of the ball.
Absolutely. And that's the last talking point, the defensive side of the ball. That's the biggest concern there for the manager.
It's 2 minutes of stoppage time. Goes out for Raymond Lee. He's got all sorts of time and space to deliver or put on a couple moves like he's doing currently. The hopeful chip in. It was handled by Lewis Hilton. You can see Albert Debo was having his hands up in the air looking for any sort of support as Raymond Lee just bullies Dakers off the ball. And it is concerning for St. Louis because if you're going to be disorganized on the defensive side of the ball and you're going to be as stagnant as you have been for basically the entire 13 weeks of the 2019 campaign, you're going to have an issue.
Game over. You cannot win, and you cannot win versus a quality opponent. And with all with all due respect to Hartford Athletic, they're not necessarily that quality opponent that St. Louis FC is looking maybe a game down the road to, maybe 2 games down the road to. And you have to step up here. But Anthony Pujols will look to his bench, and he'll look at his starting 11. He'll go Albert Dikwa, Kadeem Dakers. I've got Nietzsche Vlastos, Caleb Calvert on the bench. They're more than happy to come off and take your place. He'll look at his back line and say, Hendon Feo, Sean Reynolds, they're happy to step in for you guys. If you guys don't want to play, I have no problem giving the shirt to someone else. But that's where teams can also be guilty as well. I was talking about their schedule. You turn the corner on the road, again to Bethlehem Steel. Have to play Dave Sarek in North Carolina FC. And Bethlehem Steel is struggling, but still a quality opponent. Still a team that can give you a run for your money. NCFC, one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. And so you have to wonder, with the time off that they've had from league play, as well as maybe peeking down the road a little bit, if that has come into play here.
You would almost feel like a side that has played virtually the fewest amount of games in the Eastern Conference because of all these postponements and because just the way the schedule is shaking out, that they would be hungry to play, but that certainly doesn't seem like it, as we're going to finish the first half level at 1 between Hartford Athletic and St. Louis FC. Matt Boehner got things started, only to see his terrific cracking goal equalized by Harry Swartz. Devin Kerr, thoughts on the first half?
Got to give credit to Hartford Athletic and the way that they grew into this game. The manager figured it out, where their focal points were, and they're taking advantage of it. And as much as we've given Anthony Pulis and St. Louis FC a hard time, it's still 1-1 on the road. There's 45 minutes for you to regroup and go out in the second half and put on a better showing. This is a seasoned manager who understands not only what he needs out of his team, but how to get it. They will come out stronger in the second half.
Well, we already have a first on the night as Hartford Athletic were able to put the first past goal of St. Louis FC while they're on the road. They're looking for their first win at home in league play. We're headed to halftime here at Rentschler 1-1. Halftime here at the Rent. Hartford and St. Louis FC all knotted up at 1 as the halftime festivities are currently going on. $2 beer and hot dog night here in Hartford, Connecticut, as I'm sure those are being devoured responsibly, of course. Talking about the hot dogs, obviously, Devin Kerr, as we will take a look at some of the finer moments here at Rentschler, their temporary home before moving to the newly renovated Dillon Stadium. And Devin, we're going to say goodbye to really what has been a fantastic atmosphere. And even though this place holds upwards of 40,000 when the 19th Regiment and the rest of the Hartford Athletic faithful get this place going, it certainly feels like there are 40,000 here. And they're just hoping to be able to get a win before they head to Dillon Stadium.
And there was a resident, Chris Gibbs, that said, look, we've had to wait for sports before. No big deal. Once we get going, nobody's going to remember. And to be fair, that's kind of what it's been since they've come home. They've done a good job making the Rent their home. Rock the Rent is what they preach every single week for every single match. But an opportunity right around the corner to call themselves something else, to have their own home and push themselves forward. And that's part of the culture that is created with every great club, Hartford no exception.
And what a game this is going to be. July 13th. Taking on Martin Rennie and Indy 11, by far one of the most fire-powered offenses within the USL Championship's Eastern Conference, at least on paper. Still trying to put it all together, but this would be a great statement for Jimmy Nielsen's boys to be able to make in their first ever game at their permanent home at Dillon Stadium, which is just about to be ready, and we are cruising through halftime, still 1-1 between Hartford and St. Louis. When we come back, we'll have stats, highlights from the first half, and of course, the conclusion here in Hartford. Brown to find Lacroix. Now it's Musa. Oh, what a hit! Ryan Brown. Brown. Oh, that is electric from Phoenix on the break. Shot push wide. Awesome stuff for the USL Championship. We have Tuesday night edition of Wednesday Night Soccer, if you're following me on that one. Devin, you look a little bit confused.
Days and times and places and things.
Reno and Phoenix, that'll be a good game.
There you go.
I'm excited for that.
When's that?
That's this week.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Gotta start my prep.
Let's take a look at some news and notes from around the league. Tampa Bay Rowdies, well, you saw their first ever loss of 2019, but that was in a different competition. Still unbeaten in league play. How about Loudoun United under Ryan Martin? We've heard some rumblings that this is a much more entertaining, a little bit fiery Brian Martin's side as they were able to get a win against the Swope Park Rangers at the midweek. And how about all of the terrific players that have been picked from their league sides to go and represent their country in the CONCACAF Gold Cup, which is taking a start next week on Saturday. Here's a look at the most previous team of the week. Chris Tierpak of Austin Bold FC was part of that ridiculous comeback, ending up winning 3-2. Throw in more Sam from Ottawa Fury, Tyler Pasher from Indy 11. Some big names up here. Devin, who do you like?
Big fan of what John McCarthy's done this year, and we give credit to the back line of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. However, he's really had to step up multiple times. His second half against Lou City was fantastic a few weeks ago. However, they're losing right now, 1-0 NCFC.
Who gets your vote, player of the month?
Adam John. Easily for me. Kiesvetter's probably right there as well. Those two guys and what they've been able to do. I like Qudus Lawal and their kind of resurgence offensively, but still, like, it hasn't been that impressive. His goals are goals, but Jerome and Adam are scoring top-notch quality goals.
Evan Newton is putting on some good performances in between the sticks as well. When we come back, we will have stats and highlights from the first half. Don't you dare move a muscle.
Get ready for the Travelers Championship. So many top players.
There he is! Wow! Oh my goodness!
So many great moments.
Bubba takes the title again. They saw one of the shots of the year.
The Travelers Championship. So many reasons to be there.
Where some see a barber, I see a magician. I see Hugo, of Hair by Hugo. Wizard of whiskers. Sorcerer of scissors. Houdini of hair. Hugo is a small business owner. Me, I'm the Hartford Buck, and I see nothing small in small business.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance. The Buck's got your back.
Nick, we need a decision. These days, we all feel a little anxious sometimes. But if you could see inside my mind, you'd find I go to my happy place. See, if we let tensions run the show up here, then our bodies won't perform at their best out here.
Wait, are we going to the sound check?
Priorities. So I'm partnering with Cigna to remind you that how you're doing emotionally affects you physically. Go for your annual checkup and be open with your doctor about anything you're feeling, physically and emotionally. Body and mind. Cigna, together all the way.
Right around the corner for the second 45 minutes here at the Rent. Matt Boehner and Harry Swartz with the goals here in Hartford, Connecticut, as the fans are enjoying $2 beers and hot dogs here at Rentschler Field, one of the last few games before they head over to Dillon Stadium, as we touched upon earlier. And we'll take a look at how the first 45 minutes went down. And Devin Kerr, things got started for St. Louis FC. It was actually Hartford who was on the front foot for the first 5 or 6 minutes. Weren't really able to get any chances. This was the first real chance of the game.
Visitors took over. Lewis Hilton had a nice little run through here and said he couldn't give it up an opportunity like that. Intercepted it in the back line, and slowly they started to figure things out. However, not before Boehner unleashed with this left foot. And again, it was, why is there not a step here? All the credit to Matt Boehner because he still has to execute, but no one comes. Even Angulo allows him over 5 yards, just turns his back. You cannot do that, especially to a team that is so good on the defensive side of things. Do not give them an opportunity to get out in front, but the home squad wouldn't shy away. They would not back down from this challenge. They respond in the like of Harry Swartz. Good ball in on the quick little turn. Triangular play on the far side. They go quickly, they slice and dice, they get even at once.
Great ball in from Vucic, and then Harry Swartz just finding a way to put the ball in the back, and then that second goal in as many games for the Northeastern grad. And then it would be Sebastian Dalgard putting on all sorts of moves, and Swartz probably should have had a second.
Unfortunately, the force wasn't with him on this one. May the Swartz be with you. That's an old movie. You got to see that. Come on. Never?
All right, I'm upset with 2 things. One, the joke.
You don't know the movie.
You're not even a dad, and that was the epitome of a dad joke.
I have 2 dogs.
And yes, I know what movie you're talking about. Star Trek.
Exactly. And no, and it's not Star Wars either.
What is it?
You'll see. No? See?
Okay.
We're just letting the listeners know that, time hasn't tested you yet. You haven't gone into the
No, you're testing me right now.
Well, that's the story of our lives. It's a circle.
Wes, can we get a new analyst in here for the second half? Because this one is just rubbing me the wrong way. Let's take a look at the numbers. I mean, possession, more or less for St. Louis FC. I think this has been a relatively open game, Devin. And I think that I would be shocked if you would have told me in the first half that we would have 2 goals split right down the middle. I mean, given the fact that St. Louis FC hadn't conceded on the road yet, and Hartford Athletic, with the exception of the Harry Swartz goal, have tended to get off to poor starts. But we've had a very open game, a very good game. And as we've already talked to Jimmy, I mean, listen, he's no stranger to the idea that they went 0-0-8 to start out the season, and that they need 3 points whenever they can get them, and that he's always going to go for it. The Ottawa game, the North Carolina game, they opened things up. They tried to get the 3 points. It didn't work out that way. Can we expect to see that in the second half?
You would hope so. The problem is some changes in terms of tactical are going to be coming on the St. Louis side of things with the additions of Caleb Calvert and Feo. And did I not say, watch what happens, because he's not going to be a happy manager, rightfully so. He's given 2 other guys an opportunity to step in, both of which are coming back from injury.
Caleb Calvert and Bradley Camden Feo coming onto the scene, placing the likes of Paris G as well as Kadeem Dakers. So 2 switches for Anthony Pulis at the half. It's rare to see a switch at the half in general, but how about the double switch? I mean, how much of that do you think is getting fitness and getting match fitness minutes for these 2 who, as you mentioned, are both coming off injury, in addition to just poor play in the first half?
Just poor play in the first half.
That's it.
You're not going after minutes right now. Not in a 1-1 game on the road. It's not going to happen. The way that he would have liked to have introduced them, up 2 goals, 15 to play. Let them come on and start to gain some fitness in that level. And this isn't the case right now. This is a manager who's upset at his squad and showing everybody that if you're not willing to go out there and take advantage of your opportunity, I've got guys sitting on the bench that'll go get the job done for me. So good opportunity for Camden Feo to step on, and Caleb Calvert. Calvert will go and be the lone gunman up top now. And what you'll see is Cicerone and Dikwa will start to fluctuate a bit here with Dakers coming off. I'll be real curious to see if Cicerone stays on the left-hand side or if he moves Dikwa over to the left to put Cicerone on the right, because they tend to switch him in those situations.
We're officially underway in the second half from the Rent. Lucci trying to find Jose Angulo. Calvert, 22 years old, from Wrightwood, California. It's actually the youngest signing ever in Chivas USA history. Of course, who then folded a few years later. Spent a number of years on loan with the Charlotte Independents, coming over from the Colorado Rapids when those 2 had a bit of a hybrid affiliation. And St. Louis FC picking up right where they left off in the first half, just giving the ball away in silly spots, self-inflicted wounds galore. And to be fair, I don't think Paris G was all that bad on the ball, but defensively, I mean, he was having a nightmare out on this near-hand side.
A liability against Harry Swartz, and that's the capability of Harry Swartz, but also the inability on the side of Paris G and just not relishing his opportunity. A guy who's stepping back into the lineup and You know, they've just struggled at that left back position, to be fair, since Feo has stepped out, and it's gone back and forth. Boehner has been over there a few times. The center backs have remained the constant, and that's nice to see. But when you have the style that's at play for Anthony Pulis, you have to find a way. You can have one weak link back there, not two, and that's where it's been right now. And they struggled all night. But again, 45 minutes. Again, we said this has struggled, that has struggled. You'll see these boys step up. I'm not surprised by that.
Here's Dikwa, as Devin mentioned, who's going to move a little bit further out wide to make room for Caleb Calvert, who is truly an out-and-out number 9. And I think this time last year, Devin, if St. Louis had put on this poor of a performance, and there certainly were a lot more of them in 2018 than there were this year at the start, as we're about 13 weeks in, you would have seen a much more fire Anthony Pulis. But you asked him at the beginning of the season, what's one of the biggest things that you learned? And he said, listen, I need to keep my composure in the technical area with regards to referees, with regards to how my team is playing. And given how poorly they did play in the first half, it's been relatively tame from Anthony Pulis.
Break down what you said, though. He needs to keep his emotion at bay in the technical area. You still want that fiery movement from the manager.
I'm sure it was there.
But yeah, behind closed doors is what his issue was. And credit to him, though. Self-recognition on a negative side is very difficult to do. To take a look at what your behavior has been and then push yourself beyond it and make yourself a better person, a better coach, a better role model. It's a very difficult thing, and he's been able to do so. We had a friend who was overseas recently and said that his opportunity to interact with the Pulis family was interesting. He talked about what a stand-up family they are and their opportunity to kind of survey.
It's a surveying effort that had the attention of Frederick Douay, and he hasn't seen many shots tonight, but when they have been thrown his way, they've been spectacular efforts.
It's 4 now. The Hilton shot early on. There was the kiss of death off the post, off a deflection from Douay, and then of course the shot from Boehner. Hilton trying to go transition here from distance. Good tuck inside from Cicerone, and it's close. No cigar.
With a terrific ball over for Cicerone. It was awkward, though, for the Michigan native to try to handle it. Angulo, Dalgard running with him. Here's the Colombian out wide for Dalgard. Positive first touch, but broken up by Matt Boehner. And a corner kick coming up for Hartford Athletic. Corner kick for Mats Jorgensen as the sun is setting on the rent in more ways than one. Last 2 games at the rent for Hartford will be against Nashville and Bethlehem. Raymond Lee knocking one in. Here's Jorgensen with the left foot and always going wide. Here's a look at what's on the horizon for Jimmy Nielsen's group. We mentioned the game against Nashville, throw in game on the road against Chandler Hoffman's Birmingham Legion, and they got to exact some revenge against Memphis 901 FC. They owe them one after what got on in that 2-week stretch here at Rensselaer, and then of course in the Open Cup. Albert Dikwa takes a deflection. Logan Gadula putting his body on the line. It's going to come out the other way, and Gadula took a serious shot. It broke up the counterattack of what surely was going to be a goal for St. Louis FC, but he paid dearly for it.
Caleb Calvert trying to come over and pay his respects. Wasn't trying to be negligent here, but as this ball comes back across, he's just trying to go with his head. The center back doesn't necessarily understand his surroundings, does a good job trying to clear it off, but as he turns, basically leans right in to the forward-thinking process of Caleb Calvert.
It initially looked like it was a straight-up head injury, but after getting the good replay angle that we got, it was almost straight to the chest. Certainly could have been a lot worse for Logan Gadula.
Nice by Calvert.
Yep.
Yeah, quality sportsmanship between those two, and again, that gives you an idea. When you look back at the replay, you can see Calvert isn't trying to go into a tackle here. He's trying to go for goal. He's trying to win the ball and knock it into the back of the net. Lewis Hilton does so on the backside. Logan Gadula still trying to understand his full surroundings. Remember, this is an outside back coming out of Wake Forest, and on the outside back on the right side as well, who's playing tucked in next to Sem David, just turning across his body. Doesn't see the forward coming across, and the two of them doing battle. Two very big bodies right at the top of the six.
Gadula, who was drafted by FC Cincinnati, 13th overall, loaned out to Phoenix Rising, and there was just really no room for him at Phoenix. Went back to Cincinnati and then gets loaned out again to Hartford. I wonder, though, if that's something that perhaps FC Cincinnati wanted to explore with him at the center back position, or if that's simply what the need is for Jimmy Nielsen and Hartford Athletic.
I'll tell you this, I don't see, with all due respect to Logan Gadula, I don't see him taking over Forrest Lasso, who's like 4th on the depth chart there.
FC Cincinnati needs all the help that they can get right now.
And then again, they're struggling in general, so why not? Waste not, want not.
Maybe they need a little bit of Forrest Lasso in their life.
It's a testament to Logan Gadula as a player. The tutelage of Bobby Muse coming out of Wake Forest, and failed experiment of Alan Kotchin. MLS, unfortunately. I mean, you do feel for him, but you have to wonder in general where that was going. And to be fair, there were some rumblings last year of maybe some discontent behind closed doors, things going on in the locker room. I bet Matt Boehner could give you a good idea of what was going on there. He's one of the ones that did not make the transition to the MLS squad.
The ball in from Raymond Lee. Angulo on the turn. Lee running with him. Angulo was trying to pick one out of the far post for Harry Swartz. He won't be able to pick up seconds. Minutes gone in the second half. Not much to write home about just yet. And all Hartford Athletic from a possession standpoint. Here's Sebastian Delgard, who had a lively first 45 minutes, but unforced error there trying to find Nicky Downs on this left-hand side. Going to go against St. Louis FC. Not exactly a tamed Anthony Pulis in the technical area, but getting another look as to why he's so frustrated.
The manager was barking from the sideline. Little step here. Oscar Umar not exactly sure what the argument is. He steps right on his boot. Ball does get away from him, but still, one on top of another.
Well, that was a very similar attempt that Matt Boehner was able to score on, but the result was very different.
There's just a disconnect right now from St. Louis FC. There was a good look at Kenefeo and Alberdikwa screaming at each other. He didn't like the fact that the outside back with the space in front of him didn't step up. That's what we talked about on the goal for Boehner, how that space wasn't closed down fast enough. Same thing from Alberdikwa. He's on the far side of the box. We said, mate, you got to step up, go into there and get a challenge in. At least apply some pressure. It's too easy.
Sharp pass out to Delgard and a big first touch out in front. Cross takes a deflection. Awkward at the back. Here comes the pressure from Vucic and company. So Devin, you've been spot on with the predictions. Who's the first one to come on for Jimmy Nielsen?
I'd go after Alex Dixon. Bring some energy, bring some speed. The problem you're running into is the two boys up top, Angulo, Vucic, have had to do a lot of running, especially off the ball. They're tracking on the defensive side of things, but when they're going, there's a lot of movement to try and get themselves open. So not exactly sure how much is left in the tank for either one of them. You'd like to continue that big, small type look. However, Angulo's proved to be open in some pretty good spots so far, so I'd hate to take him off and leave him for what capability he gives you.
Can I make a tactical prediction and try your job a little bit right now?
Tell me.
Bring Vucic off. Slide Dixon up top, bit more speed, stretch the back line of St. Louis, and there's going to be a nice little pocket that's going to open up even more so for Angulo, and just let him do his thing.
So basically you're agreeing with me that you would put Dixon up top.
Mine was a bit more elaborate and it sounded better coming out of my mouth, but yes.
I'd be quite interested to see, and this is something you obviously try on training, how does Dalgard do in the middle of the field? Because he plays well with his back to goal, but obviously
I like him too much out here.
Well, he's great on the wing, and the reason I say that is he capable of playing a false 10? You know, playing in an 8 or 10, sitting in the middle, or in a false, well, push him up further, playing a false 9, have him sit under Angulo, let him roam around a bit free, and then put Alex out on the left. That's a very difficult thing, and you're not going to try that now. But Dalgard's shown that he's capable of having that hold-up play, having the 1 or 2 challenges. It's different when you've got the shield of the touchline next to you. It's something maybe Jimmy takes a look at. Probably not, considering it's coming for me, but you never know.
Next phone call we have him, bring it up.
Okay.
I heard he's looking for a tactical consultant.
Yeah. He's got Chris Button loving George Castells on the sideline. I'm pretty sure he's good. He doesn't need me barking in his ear.
19th Regiment doing their thing. That place is going to be rocking at Dillon Stadium on July 13th against a very solid Indy 11 side.
Something that fans have to take into consideration. It's quite easy to take a look at the surroundings and go, hey, the place isn't that full. This place holds 40,000 people. And twice they've already gone over 10 for their home games. So when you've got a capacity that's a bit smaller, it's going to look a lot more full. The acoustics are going to start to come into play a bit better, and it really enforces that 12th man type deal that every type of culture brings into play.
But even their opener against Charlotte here at the Ren, I mean, Jimmy said, he's like, listen, guys, I've played all over the world, and I've been in some pretty remarkable venues from an acoustic standpoint, but he was like, that was one of the realest atmospheres that I've ever felt. And he said, despite the fact that the place wasn't even a quarter full or close to a quarter full, it still felt like that. And that's just a testament to the entire Hartford community embracing the side for what it is, which is just a really well-run program. And I just think you're going to start to see all of the results come out of the woodworks in the coming weeks, because if they can continue to put performances like this and disrupt the St. Louis side that has been so true to who they are, but they look light years away from what we've seen for the first 12 weeks of the season.
does go down to what we also spoke about at the top of the broadcast. Eventually, got to pull the trigger here. Eventually, you have to go get 3 points, because it's great to make the argument of, yes, they've looked better recently. Yes, they're 2-1-2 in all competitions with that Open Cup run. Okay, ties versus Ottawa, ties versus North Carolina FC. You want to bring Alex Dixon's prediction to light, you need to start getting 3 points. And this is a good opportunity. A St. Louis squad that isn't necessarily playing up to par, and Jimmy's squad, Hartford Athletic, who is playing a bit above average right now, better than we've seen them in the past. You need to go take advantage of this opportunity, because you don't want to look back 3-4 weeks down the road when maybe results aren't going your way and go, what if?
So we're going to have a quick wardrobe change. Bradley Camden-Fawo not feeling the color coordination, maybe some blisters. Have you ever done that in the middle of a game?
Never in the middle of a game. I've done it at halftime because of the surface. You do wonder, because he did have metal studs on, and the orange Nikes he just put on looked like they were molded. So you have to wonder if maybe he didn't like the speed that was coming off, because if you have a long stud sticking in the turf, you're going to slow down. It's harder to get the repetition in and out.
The red looks manicured, it looks beautiful.
Yep. Great weather, proper surface. That's an outside back who's got a lot of speed, so probably not happy with the way things have gone so far.
Slugger, you need the long studs.
Yeah. You need hybrids.
Yeah,
You got the studs, you got the turret, you got the
You can press a button for when you get to the infield.
Exactly. That's Batman moves.
Lewis Hilton got caught a little bit. At the moment, it's a wasted opportunity from the corner for St. Louis. That's got to drive Anthony Pulin's crazy to not even get a look from the set piece.
He's going to be upset about that. He's going to be upset about the fact that when this ball gets sprayed back out, Camden-Fawo doesn't knock a good ball back in. And then on the third opportunity when it comes out, you see Sam Fink sprinting back 70 yards, because Hartford Athletic has moved their line much higher. Makes it that much more difficult for this back line to withstand the pressure that we've seen out of Hartford Athletic. Hasn't been the same here in the second half, as both teams have kind of pulled the rein backs a touch. But still, not doing themselves any favors on the defensive side of things, St. Louis FC.
Just coming into the screen, wasn't exactly in support over there on the far right side as Hartford Athletic give away possession. Next up for St. Louis, of course, Tuesday night they'll be taking on the Chicago Fire. They'll be on the road against the Bethlehem Steel, then home against North Carolina FC, at Swope Park Rangers, and home against Loudoun United. St. Louis starting to look dangerous. Lewis Hilton pushes it out wide. Bradley Camden-Fawo's delivery pushed away by Raymond Lee. Bucci just forced out of play. An exciting week of football coming up, Devin Kerr. 4th round of the U.S. Open Cup. USL Championship MLS matchups galore in that 4th round. And then the weekend, not only do you get another week of the USL Championship, start a Gold Cup. And the Women's World Cup in full swing as well. The United States national team will take on Thailand in their opening group match on Tuesday night, Tuesday afternoon, time difference.
Semantics. No time is a bad time for football.
Football time somewhere.
Exactly. Okay.
See what I did there?
$2 hot dog night.
Yeah.
Got it. Hey, U20s unfortunately bowed out today against Ecuador. Their 2-1 quarterfinal loss.
How do you feel about that?
It's a good team, man. Ecuador is a good team. They really are. They don't give enough credit because their youth squads are always really, really good. And they're a team that they pump out numbers in terms of quality players.
They're like the FC Dallas.
They're not world-class players.
Like the FC Dallas Academy on like the international stage.
Yeah.
Like from a youth standpoint, really, really good. But senior team, like,
It's a good analogy.
thank you.
We've both done one now.
But we're just giving you self-trend. I don't know if anybody else agrees with us. Probably not.
So the U20s are out, and Women's World Cup, you brought up the U23s World Cup is what, a month away? 6 weeks away?
Something. Menacing ball that was sent into that corridor of uncertainty, but nobody was making the run for Hartford Athletic. And a corner kick coming up. How about Copa America?
Copa America is going to be without Neymar. Hurt again.
Oh, he's hurt again?
Again.
Oh, he has an injury again.
Shocking.
Yeah.
He's out for a while, too.
Here's Lewis Hilton over the takeover. Good defensive play there on the far side from Kyle Karinga, and it comes out the other way. And Devin, you mentioned how the individual battles, especially against St. Louis, are sort of null and void because there is so much pressure, but Hartford are winning their individual battles at the moment.
Kyle Karinga steps initially, then recovers, and pushes himself with enough pace on that first step to get out against Lewis Hilton. Now, Lewis Hilton is not exactly a track star, however, got a good amount of speed, and when you're going against the grain to win the tackle and then go the other direction, very difficult to do. It's a good look by Kyle Karinga. But offensively, I'd like to see a bit more out of Hartford right now. If they want to go win this match, they got to show me a different dimension than what they were doing in the first half.
Raymond Lee somehow gets out of trouble, still on his feet. Cleared away by Albert Dikwa. Caleb Calvert staying down after he felt like he was clipped. So did Anthony Pulis.
Calvert was tangled up early on with Logan Gudula on the other side. Here's a good look at Raymond Lee on the initial run. Right there, should have released it. Fortunately, the ball a bit behind him. Difficult to get away with it, and a little payback maybe? A little fun here?
If Raymond Lee, I'm not saying that he should, but if he did go down there,
no pen.
I'm just saying. Put it this way, we've seen worse calls made before.
Way worse. Way worse. The referee's done a good job tonight. I have no quarrels whatsoever.
No.
70 minutes in, and
I don't notice him. That's the best referee.
just gonna say that you're 70 minutes into a match, and he has not been a talking point. He or she. He. I have to
John?
be politically correct. Well,
Yeah.
the crew. We need to say the crew because
It is a crew.
The linesman, the fourth official, they have all done a very good job managing this game so far. Now, wait for the commentators' curses. 20 minutes left, and this thing just goes AWOL.
This game has flown by. 70 minutes in already? Does the $2 beer and hot dog promo, does that have a limit on it? Like, is it 75th minute? Because I'm darting to the concession stands right now to make sure I'm getting my full helping in so I can get to hot dogs 11, 12, and 13.
I think I actually saw something that it closed down in the first half.
Stop.
I believe so. Yeah, that was, you know, I don't read very well, so if I dive into a story like that, I have to get you to help me out with the big words.
Yeah. Hot dog. Today, Junior.
Yeah. There's another movie quote for you as things have obviously slowed down here in the second half. Another opportunity, though, like we talked about. Well done coming out of the back. A bit dangerous. Good look by Jorgensen. Someone go win this game. You know, somebody's got to step up here.
Dalgard, not a bad idea. Fewo got a touch to it because Fennelson was caught in no man's land a bit. It was an intriguing ball from Sebastian Dalgard, who's been a bit quiet in this second half.
Matt Boehner has been mostly responsible for that one-on-one battle. This time it got away from him. Dalgard just trying to find that drifting run. Saw that multiple times in the first half from Harry Schwartz. Obviously got the equalizer and then a few other opportunities. Missed the sitter right at the 6 just before halftime.
50-50 is continuing to swing in the favor of Hartford Athletic. Jorgensen looking for Gadula. Snatched out of the air by Jake Fennelson. Distributes beautifully, going the other way. From Lewis Hilton. Dalgard gets around Hilton, who's laboring a bit. Dalgard gets taken down. No call from the referee. Oscar Umar put in the challenge.
There's a good shout by Anthony Pulis in the near touch light. Said just stand him up here. Clips his leg. It gets him. Coming right across. Look at the knee. Takes his right knee out. Oscar Umar the entire way. Gets a body on Dalgard. You just alluded to a bit quiet here in the second half. Really the first time the referee gets this one wrong. Not the end of the world, but a good opportunity for Hartford Athletic going forward. It would have been a set piece from about 30 yards out. Tracking back just in front of that, it was interesting when he said, you know, Lewis Hilton, just stand him up here. Walked right around Lewis Hilton. That's not something you see. This midfield is very tired. And the way that they've set themselves up, it was flat early on. Now it's gone into a bit more of a triangle. Guy Ben sitting up top, not necessarily underneath Caleb Calvert, almost trying to push into a second forward at times. But they're just lacking that overall fortitude that we've seen in the past. They haven't been able to maintain possession. They can't have that stranglehold in the middle of the field. Hartford Athletic trying to get away with one here in the second half.
St. Louis give it away again. Dangerous here on the Hartford side of things. Dalgard loops one in. Harry Schwartz felt like he was pushed in the back, and that's not the first time that St. Louis FC has got a bit handsy while a Hartford Athletic player was trying to elevate to win a header. So we're going to have a double switch from Jimmy Nielsen. Alex Dixon and Rasmussen are going to come on. A couple of fresh legs to be inserted by the White Puma as Vucic put in a solid shift of work. Give you like 80% credit on the prediction for the substitution. Harry though. Surprised at that?
No, and that's game minutes. That's management. And Jimmy Nielsen telling us that he's still not fully match fit for 90 minutes right now, and they've used him about 60, 70 minutes so far. Really difficult for him to complete a full match in this progression as a pro. Remember, he came in very late. They didn't get him until, I believe it was last week in April, first week in May, right before that Open Cup run. And management of these matches over that time frame, quite difficult to do as well, especially when you don't have a roster that's extremely deep. Rasmussen an opportunity now to showcase himself in a bit more of a natural position than we've seen him recently because of all the issues that Jimmy Nielsen has had, as well as poor form early on in the season. Philip Rasmussen was actually playing on the back line next to Sendovit as they strengthen their squad, and now that they are starting to get numbers back a bit, he can have the opportunity to play a more advanced role.
Dula fizzes one along for Raymond Lee.
Block that St. Louis has right now, you just can't break him down. Nicky Downs is lost. Jorgensen isn't trying to hunt and find this ball, and then here comes the press from St. Louis. Well done by Lewis Hilton, recognizing that Hartford Athletic didn't have numbers, and this allows them to now pull their line a bit higher and make them play out of the back. Anytime this ball goes long, that's a win for St. Louis. They'll take the 50-50 all day long.
Dixon, great little back heel for Karinga. And Karinga's delivery was way too quick. Dalgard was naked on this back post. There was all sorts of space for Karinga to just sort of make somebody step to him on the St. Louis side of things, but a chance goes awry.
Just like that, neither Cicerone nor Canafeo on the backside win this challenge as this long ball's played in. Nice little flick on and a good ball to the back post. Unfortunately, could not connect. That direct play is how Hartford is going to win this game. If they want an opportunity to get a second goal and get out in front of St. Louis, that is how it's going to be done.
Dula gets absolutely dropped by Gaia Bend, and he will be shown mustard.
Looked upon initial review, there's a trailing arm here with Logan Gadula. Shoulder as well. Does he pull out? Gadula stepping in, comes away. So he catches a bit of the shoulder. The one thing you have to remember, Taylor Twellman made a good point about this a couple weeks ago. If he doesn't catch him, it can still be a foul because the intent is still there. So if he doesn't make contact, the referee can still blow the whistle. It's really close to call, so you have to give him the benefit of the doubt, that there was contact, but regardless, the referee has every right to call a foul in that situation.
Well, that goes a number of weeks back to the beginning of the MLS season where it was an incident with Dom Dwyer and Wayne Rooney. And Dwyer just went for a full-on sliding challenge and could have easily cleaned out Wayne Rooney. And Rooney had to literally dive out of the way, and the foul was called. And Twitter sphere blew up because they're saying, well, he didn't touch him. Well, it's still a foul because Wayne Rooney had to totally change his course of actions because of Don Dwyer's actions. Now, if you want to change the rule book and do it that way, that's what you need to do. But the referee completely had his bases covered as St. Louis FC looking menacing on the other end, but Sendovit able to clean it up before it became too menacing. Oh, and by the way, Wayne Rooney scored on a free kick.
Shocking.
Gula trying to flick it along, pressure from Nicky Downs. Now we'll have an Austin Martz siding as Halbert Dikwa is going to come off. And Martz, of course, featured for Anthony Pulis at OCB in 2017 and followed Pulis to St. Louis FC. And the final substitution for the visitors is exhausted here in the 81st minute. Pretty pedestrian night work for Albert Dikwa, and that might even be a bit generous.
Albert Dikwa, Kadeem Dakers, neither one of them, with all the speed that they possess, really made an impact on this game, and that's what they're there for. They have to stretch the outside marking backs and the center backs, and they just weren't able to do so. And the midfield three, no matter how hard they worked, weren't able to connect to the guys up top, and it showed.
Here's Martz for the first time tonight, working on Raymond Lee. Less than 10 minutes remaining. Hartford Athletics still looking for that signature win, still looking for their first home win in league play. They could kill 2 USL Championship birds with 1 stone if they're able to grab a goal late on here. Steps up. Alex Dixon. Good offer for Fewo. Nicky Downs now. With a great little change of direction. Gadula. Good movement from Hartford, both on and off the ball. Ball sent in for Angulo. Is he taken down? No call just yet. Dalgard. Dalgard still with it. Was he taken down? Yes, he was. Penalty. Dalgard, who's been ever present tonight, finally gets rewarded. A bit shaken up after the fact, but a great chance for Hartford to steal all 3 points for the first time at home in league play.
Matt Boehner had his hands full in the first half against Sebastian Dalgard. It seemed like that match-off had cooled down a bit here in the second half, but the past 10 minutes has proved much more fun to watch. The one-on-one battles ever present, and this time Dalgard just recognizes that he's going to have an opportunity. Which way you want to go? Quick little shimmy to the left, brings it back across his body, and Boehner commits himself. He goes to ground. There is no reason whatsoever. You have to stand tall. Once he does and leaves his feet, you have lost no matter what happens. Now an opportunity for Hartford to go in front.
Philip Rasmussen buries it! And it might just be the first home win in league play for Hartford Athletic.
Jimmy Nielsen brought this man over to be the focal point of the offense. He was part of his OKC squads 2017, stayed with Steve Cook in 2018, and unfortunately because of the back line and its discombobulation, he was his center back, he was the go-to. We said coming on as a substitute, here's your opportunity. He has done that and more since coming on. And almost a passing of the torch with an opportunity for Hartford Athletic and just 5 minutes to play to get their first home victory. Very well done by Rasmussen.
Second goal of the season for Rasmussen, virtually one of his first touches of the night after coming on as a substitution. And Nicky Downs puts in a really late challenge, and he just has all sorts of energy after the go-ahead goal from Rasmussen. He's shown mustard in the 86th.
rebounds, just stepping out a bit here, trying to apply a bit of press on his own. Not enough communication as he was the lone soldier going forward. Have to stay composed down the stretch here. If you want to see this thing out, stick to your guns. Everything that you've been able to do over the first 86 plus minutes of this game, just stay composed, stay strong down the stretch.
Logan Gadula puts in a very late challenge that denied St. Louis FC. Now Alex Disson zips away. Over for Philip Rasmussen. Hartford looking for an insurance goal. Dalgard. Delivery denied by Boehner, but a corner kick coming up for Hartford Athletic. And you love to see this for Jimmy Nielsen's group. Up a goal in the last 5 minutes of play and still taking it to the opposition.
Now a bit of time wasting as well as the ball goes down into the corner for St. Louis FC. If they're going to do this, they're going to have to do something they've only had to do once this year, and that's come from behind, and that's the first game of the season. We referenced that match against Indy 11 back on March 9th. Neville Hackshaw netted in the 61st. Manuel Cavina had that blast, and then Cicerone would get his first goal of the season. So unfamiliar territory for St. Louis FC.
And Jorgensen commits a really late one from behind on Lewis Hilton. It's just going to be a whistle. And Max Steves will make his first appearance in a little while, replacing Sebastian Dalgard. And Dalgard, who is terrific tonight. We'll get a nice round of applause from the Hartford Athletic faithful. Out comes Steves, the Providence College product in the 88th. Angulo. And a golf clap from Devin Kerr for Angulo's hold-up play.
He does well here because he could have easily put this 40-yard ball into the other corner and probably would have gotten there, to be honest, but still when you keep it, allow the defender to track back, just knock it off him, it's time. Clock, every single second can go away just like that. Well done by Angulo. And then keep an eye on him because he's now put in a defensive role with Steves going up top. He's going to replace Dalgard on the left side, have to track back and mark up Austin Martz over here on this near channel.
Updates from around the Eastern Conference. Swope Park Rangers and Charlotte Independence finished 0-0. Louisville City 2-1 up on Loudoun United. That running parallel with this game. Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Ottawa Fury 2-2. Charleston and Birmingham 1-1 in the 62nd. And how about North Carolina FC up 2-1 at Al Lang against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. If that result holds, it'll be the first loss for the Tampa Bay in league play. Colorado Springs Switchbacks up 1-0 on the Tacoma Defiance in stoppage time of the first half at altitude. And with so much of the Eastern Conference looking like they're going to draw, great opportunity for Hartford Athletic not only to just get their first win at home this season, but to also gain some ground as we'll have 4 minutes of stoppage time. Ball pops straight up. Raymond Lee's clearance not too far. Back for Martz and a good challenge from Lee. Now it's just a matter of closing this one out at all costs for Jimmy Nielsen's group. And it's offside. Disarray for Anthony Pulis.
What are you doing there? Why are you putting this ball back here? It is such a simple throw in right to his feet. Play it right back to him. Just sit. And instead, you just give it right back to the opposition and take more precious moments off this clock.
And people say it all the time, but there are some moments where restarting from the throw-in looks like the most difficult thing in the world for teams. It's astonishing.
Well, it's funny as well because Matt Boehner just threw the ball 40 yards. You've got Sam Fink, Fanuel Kavina, Caleb Calvert. As close as you were in proximity to the goal, why not put this on a rope and throw it in? Let one of those guys go get it.
Now everybody moving forward for St. Louis FC. Lewis Hilton on top of it. Hilton drives one in. Douay off of his line, gets a punch to it. Austin Martz now looking for the chip. And Devin, you look a little bit worried over there, but I like the play from Douay coming off of his line and getting it, because if you and I talked about all the time with how much keepers are protected by the referee nowadays, go out and get a punch to it, chances are you're going to get there, A or B, you'll get a call.
I would usually agree with that. The problem is he's almost at the top of the 18 for this.
True.
And Jimmy Nielsen brought up when he had a few appearances earlier this year, as this is only his 4th, he had that stretch of 2 games in a row where he had some questionable challenges, especially in the Charlotte Independence game. And we brought it up to Jimmy Nielsen. He said, look, a goalkeeper that hasn't had regular reps, of course the White Puma's gonna know the best with his storied career. He said the hardest thing for him to do is judge balls off a corner, crosses, and out into space like that coming off his line. And that's an idea. When you come challenge that far out, you're hanging yourself out to dry. You're almost in a lose-lose, because if you win it and you punch it out, there's a rebound. And if you don't win it, there's a rebound. So no matter what, there's space in behind you and almost an opportunity for Austin Martz to tie this thing up.
Hartford Athletic almost home free, less than 60 seconds remaining. Cleared away, and the Hartford Athletic faithful, 19th Regiment, starting to smell the first 3 points at home in league play. Cleared away by Jorgensen. Regardless of how this finishes, even if St. Louis were to get an equalizer, Hartford moved to unbeaten in their last 4 in league play. St. Louis's last win, April 27th. They find Rasmussen, send it towards Angulo. It's offside. That's going to do it. Full time. Hartford Athletic, for the first time in franchise history, have 3 points at home in USL Championship play. They finally get one at the Ren. A gritty performance. They had St. Louis FC, their first loss on the road, their second loss in all competitions. Philip Rasmussen with the go-ahead goal from the penalty spot in the final 10 minutes. And Rasmussen, for his game-winning goal and a historic game-winning goal for Hartford Athletic, will gain Cigna Man of the Match honors. Devin Courier, thoughts on the 90-plus minutes?
Hartford Athletic did everything right and nothing wrong, except for a bit of individual brilliance in the first half by Matt Boehner on that deflection. They played a complete game. They did a good job locking down their defensive battles. Thought the midfield did really well in the first half to figure things out, especially after the 20th minute, and then from there, they just progressed. They got better and better and better. Hit a bit of a chopping block at the start of the second, but got right back into it towards the closure of this game, got enough energy and emotion to win some battles down the stretch and get a victory.
Unbeaten in their last 4 matches in USL Championship play, and we'll take a look at the innovative play of the game presented by Stanley, Black, and Decker. Dalgaard doing his thing, taken down by Boehner, who got things started from the goal-scoring standpoint, and then it'll be Rasmussen stepping up and getting the game-winning goal.
The man of the match is given to Rasmussen, but you have to pay credit to both Sebastian Dalgaard and Harry Swartz, the outside mids that did such a good job of keeping this back line honest. They challenged them time after time and really made them struggle, to be honest. One of the few times that we've seen that, and a good opportunity coming down the stretch. Dalgard makes them pay, and then Rasmussen just adds insult to injury, because once they pointed to the spot, you felt like it was coming. Everybody who stepped onto this pitch tonight, everybody who was in the 18, who's a part of this club, and those fans should be proud of their performance. A collective effort from this entire team and organization.
It's officially party time in Hartford, Connecticut, and for the 19th Regiment, they finally get their first home win in league play. We'll be back in just a few moments to put a bow on it. Final score, Hartford. Full time, and for the first time, 3 points at the Rent and in the state of Connecticut in USL Championship play for Jimmy Nielsen and Hartford Athletic. There is a look at the hero, the three heroes really on the night for Hartford Athletic, and Sebastian Dalgard, Frederick Douay, and Philip Rasmussen. But Devin Kerr, this is very much a collective effort from Jimmy Nielsen's group, because they took a St. Louis FC side that is one of the most recognizable and difficult to beat styles, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the entire USL Championship, and made them look silly and made them look dysfunctional on the night.
They dismantled them, and it was interesting to see how the tactics played out in the middle of the field. I'll give you a better idea on the goal from Harry Schwartz, but here's a look early on at what they're able to do. Opening 15, 20 minutes was really all you saw that was typical from St. Louis FC. High pressure, their ability to break you down in the defensive third, and then second chance and set piece opportunities. Now you keep an eye here. Look at the middle of the field. Very flat for St. Louis FC. They could not win the battles, and there's depth here. It's Harry Schwartz, it's the outside run from Raymond Lee, and it becomes a triangle. Quick little challenge, turn from Muchik, and just finds the back post run from Harry Schwartz. Earlier on, about 2 minutes before that, he was just standing there waiting for it to come. I said, look, if he's going to have success, he has to hit this on the ground running. He gets it right on the second time around, gets the game-tying goal. Dalgard had a great first half, fizzled at the start of the second. But when it came down the line, he knew that he was going to win the individual battle. We said individual battles was what it was all about. When push came to shove, Dalgard stepped up, so did Rasmussen. They made it 2-1. They make it 3 points for the first time at home.
Second goal of the season for Rasmussen. And Devin, I mean, it's a great pen. Nobody's stopping this.
Goalkeepers don't jump up. I mean, that's almost impossible to save. And a lot of times we roll over stats. Okay, possession, this, that, and the other. Possession's close here, so we're going to throw that out. And outside of the number of passes put together, which to be fair, that's close as well. St. Louis beat them by about 40. They win every other metric. Balls knocked into the box, challenges won, shots, I mean, you name it. But at the end of the day, all that matters, goals win games. They win 2-1, they get 3 points. Very well done.
Hartford Athletic unbeaten in their last 4. They will get the pleasure of taking on Nashville soon to come. Meanwhile, St. Louis FC on the other side are struggling as of late, looking for their first win since April 27th. It would not be found at the Rent, but what would be found is 3 points for the first time in franchise history in league play in the state of Connecticut. For our entire crew, producer Wes Zintek, our director Jose Bueso, and of course our replay operator Eric Valero, and my main man and broadcast partner Devin Kerr. Tyler Terrence saying so long for now. The final score for Rentschler, Hartford 2, St. Louis 1. We will talk to you soon.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.